You know, when I was younger, I used to think that in order to live a happy life, I needed more people, more friends, more relationships, more connections, more gatherings. But after more than 60 years of living, I've realized happiness actually comes from knowing who should stay and who needs to go. I want you to imagine this. Think about your phone. When it's full of junk apps, it slows down, drains the battery, sometimes even freezes. And what's the first thing you do? You delete what's unnecessary. Your life works the same way. There are people and relationships that simply drain your emotional battery, make you tired, irritated, doubtful of yourself. And if you don't learn to delete them, you'll never have space for something better. I've met many people in my coaching sessions, especially those in their 50s and 60s. They often tell me, "I feel exhausted. I don't even know why. Nothing bad is happening, but I just feel heavy and empty." And when I ask more, it turns out they're not tired because of work. They're tired because of people. An old friend who always complains, a relative who constantly criticizes, a coworker who loves to gossip and drag others down. Bit by bit, those people drain their life energy. And the saddest part is they don't even realize it. You see, we're often more afraid of losing others than of losing ourselves. We hold on to relationships that no longer serve us just because we don't want to seem like the one who left. But sometimes letting go is the real sign of maturity. I remember a friend in California. His name was Michael. Michael used to be the most social, outgoing guy. Everyone liked being around him. But by the time he turned 55, he began to feel empty. He told me, "I have so many friends, but none of them truly understand me. Whenever I try to have a deep conversation, they change the subject. When I struggle, they disappear, but when I succeed, they come back." One day, Michael decided to clean out his contact list. He quietly left a few friend groups, stopped replying to negative messages, and started spending more time alone, reading, exercising, watching the sunrise. And he told me, "I've never felt this light in my mind. Turns out I didn't need more people, I just needed fewer." I think at a certain age, we finally understand what simplicity truly means. Simplicity in how we live and in the relationships we keep. You don't need 100 friends. You just need a few who bring peace to your heart. When we're young, we think life is about adding more money, more people, more opportunities. But as we grow older, we realize life is really about subtracting less expectation, less worry, fewer toxic relationships. It's like cleaning out an old house. You can't bring in anything new if you keep everything old and dusty. The same goes for your soul. Sometimes it needs to be cleaned out so the light can come in. Have you ever felt this way? That there are certain people who drain you just by being around? They don't even have to say anything. Their presence alone lowers your mood. That's the sign that their energy no longer matches your path. And that doesn't mean you hate them. It just means you're choosing peace over noise. You're choosing to live consciously instead of reactively. I know deleting someone from your life sounds harsh, but you don't have to hate them. You don't even have to cut them off completely. Sometimes all you need to do is delete with distance, talk less, meet less, share less, because silence can sometimes be the best form of healing. When I was younger, I had a friend who always complained about work, about his boss, about life, about everything. At first, I thought I should listen because that's what friends do, right? But after a few months, I realized that every time we talked, I felt drained. I started carrying his negativity with me all day. And one day I stopped and asked myself, why am I letting someone else control my emotions? So I began to create distance. No anger, no arguments, just less contact. And surprisingly, a few weeks later, my mind felt lighter than ever. That's when I learned something powerful. Not everyone who starts the journey with you is meant to finish it with you. And here's something I want you to remember. You can't fly high if you keep carrying stones under your wings. Those stones are the people habits and relationships that weigh you down, make you fear change, make you doubt your worth. If you don't let them go, you'll never truly rise. Someone once asked me, "How do I know if I'm on the right path?" And I said, "Look around. If the people beside you inspire you to grow, you're on the right path. But if they make you feel tired, small, or doubtful, maybe it's time to change direction." You see, life is like a train. Everyone you meet is a passenger. Some ride with you for a few stops. Some stay for half the journey. And some just wave goodbye from the platform. Don't be sad when they leave. Not everyone is meant to go with you till the end, and that's okay. That's just life. I'm not sharing this to make you cold or distant. I'm sharing it because I've seen too many people, especially in their 50s and 60s, still carrying pain from old relationships. They can't move forward because they're still holding on to what no longer fits. And I want to tell you this: you have the right to choose again. You have the right to decide who stays in your story and who is only meant for a chapter. That's why in this video series, I want to go deeper with you to talk about the 7 types of people you need to learn to delete from your life. Not because you hate them, but because you love yourself enough to protect your peace and your future. Because you deserve a life that feels lighter, deeper, and truly happier. So before we learn how to add to our lives, let's learn how to subtract. Subtract what's unnecessary. Subtract the people who no longer bring light. Because once you let go of the old life, always finds a way to fill that space with something new. Today I want you to ask yourself one question. Is there someone in my life who makes me tired, but I still keep them around just because I'm afraid of losing what's familiar? If the answer is yes, maybe it's time to start cleaning up a little. No rush, no anger, just a quiet decision. I will no longer let others steal my peace. In the next part, I'll share with you the first 2 types of people you need to let go of: the chronic complainers and the comfort sellers, 2 kinds of people who quietly steal your energy and your most precious time. But before we go there, remember this: you can't control who walks into your life, but you can always choose who gets to stay. 1. The constant complainer, the one who blames everything. Have you ever talked to someone and felt completely drained after just a few minutes? They complain about the weather, the job, the world, about everything, and never about what's good. I once had a student named Sarah. She told me, "I don't know why I always feel exhausted. I don't even do anything heavy." When I looked deeper, I discovered something simple. She spent hours every day listening to her best friend complain. And here's what's interesting: when we stay around negative people too long, our brains start copying that same energy. Science calls this emotional contagion, the spread of emotion. Just like how laughter is contagious, so is negativity. When someone complains constantly, you slowly begin to feel dark inside too. You don't have to hate them, but you must protect your mind. Love them from a distance. 2. The person who makes you constantly prove your worth. Do you know someone who makes you feel like you're never enough? They compare you to others or make you feel guilty just for being yourself. I once worked with a colleague like that. Every time I shared an idea, he'd say, "I tried that before. It doesn't work." Not because he wanted to help, but because he wanted me to doubt myself. People like that don't want you to grow. They just want to keep you small so they can feel bigger. And if you stay around them long enough, you'll forget your own worth. So when you constantly feel the need to prove yourself, take a step back. It's not that you're not good enough. You're just standing in the wrong place next to the wrong person. 3. The person who only shows up when they need something. Have you ever noticed a type of person who only calls when they need a favor? They check on you only when there's something in it for them, but when you need help, they're suddenly busy. I call them seasonal friends. They show up in the season when you're blooming and disappear the moment your leaves start to fall. An old friend of mine once told me, "I thought I had a lot of friends until I got sick. Then only 2 people checked on me." I smiled and said, "That's more than enough." Because one person who truly cares for you is worth more than 10 who remember you only when they need something. So, don't feel hurt when someone walks away. They're not betraying you. They've simply finished their temporary role in your story. 4. The person who's negative about every change you make. When you start exercising, they laugh. At your age, really. When you start learning something new, they scoff. Why bother now? They don't hate you. They just fear change. They're afraid of seeing you grow because that forces them to face what they're not doing. I remember when I decided to stop drinking. A friend laughed and said, "You think that'll make you live longer?" I smiled and replied, "No, I just want to live more consciously." The people who react negatively to your change are often mirrors of their own fear. Don't let their fear stop your evolution. 5. The person who never really listens. Have you ever talked to someone and felt like they were only waiting for their turn to speak, not to understand, but to respond? In today's noisy world, listening is a rare gift. People who only wait to talk don't care to hear you, they just want to win the conversation. I once had a student, a gentle woman, who told me, "I feel invisible in my own marriage. My husband always talks but never listens." Listening is the foundation of connection. If someone doesn't listen, if they don't care about how you feel, that relationship will soon become shallow. Choose to stay close to people who make you feel heard, not people who make you feel like you're taking a test. 6. The person who keeps dragging you back to the past. They constantly remind you of your old mistakes, of stories you'd rather forget. They make you feel like you can never change or move forward. People like that are like anchors tied to an old dock. They want to keep you tied to the person you used to be. I once met an old man who had struggled with alcoholism for over 20 years. He overcame it, built a healthy and peaceful life. But every time he met old acquaintances, they still said, "That's the guy who used to drink." He just smiled and told me, "They're talking about who I was yesterday. I'm living today." And I thought that's the perfect answer. Surround yourself with people who see who you are now, not those who can't stop talking about who you used to be. 7. The person who doesn't respect your boundaries. They call anytime they want, expect you to say yes to everything, and when you say no, they make you feel guilty. People like that don't respect you because they don't respect themselves. Boundaries aren't walls. They're fences that protect your peace. I once told a student, if you don't learn to say no, your yes will lose its meaning. When you set boundaries, the people who truly care will respect them. The ones who get angry are usually the ones who benefited from crossing them. And when you finally start decluttering these toxic relationships, something magical happens. Your mind becomes spacious. You have more energy, more time for the people who truly matter, for yourself, your family, and for what genuinely brings you joy. Many people stay in painful relationships because they're afraid of being alone. But I want you to remember this. Peaceful solitude is better than crowded exhaustion. Sometimes solitude is just the quiet space you need to finally meet yourself again. I once asked a 62-year-old woman, if you could go back 30 years, what would you change? She looked into the distance and said softly, I would learn to leave sooner, to walk away from people who made me feel small. That answer stayed with me because I realized most of our pain doesn't come from meeting the wrong people. It comes from staying too long with them. So today, if you're hearing this, give yourself permission to let go of relationships that no longer bring peace. No anger, no drama. Just tell yourself quietly, I choose peace over noise. I choose to move forward. In the end, happiness isn't about having many people around you. It's about having the courage to keep only the ones who truly care. Because when you clean the space around you, you're also cleaning the space within you. And only when your soul feels light can you finally see the beauty that's been waiting ahead. You know, there's something I've learned after more than 60 years of living. Not everyone who walks into your life is meant to stay until the end. Some people come to teach you how to love. Some come to teach you patience. And some come only to teach you how to let go. I remember one quiet autumn afternoon in California. I was sitting in the park watching the leaves fall. An elderly couple walked by hand in hand, smiling peacefully. The wife turned to me and said softly, "We're not young anymore, but we've learned to choose peace over arguments." That simple sentence carried an entire philosophy of life. Throughout our lives, we spend so much energy trying to hold on to friends who have changed, to loved ones who have grown distant, to relationships that have already gone cold. We fear being alone. We fear being forgotten. We fear starting over. But let me tell you this from the heart of someone who's lived long enough to understand loneliness doesn't destroy you. Holding on to the wrong people does. When you begin clearing away toxic relationships, at first it feels empty. You'll have nights so quiet you can hear the clock ticking, but soon you'll realize that's not loneliness. That's healing. Just like the body needs time to heal its wounds, the soul needs space to breathe. A dear friend of mine once went through a painful betrayal from someone she loved deeply. She told me, "I thought I'd never trust anyone again. But then I realized, the world isn't worse, I just learned to choose better." That's the message I want you to carry with you after this video. Not everyone is bad, they're just not meant to walk your path anymore. I once asked a man in his 50s rebuilding his life after divorce, "What's the hardest part of starting over?" He looked at me and said, "Learning to stop waiting for an apology." That answer stayed with me because so many people spend years, sometimes a lifetime, waiting for an apology, waiting for someone to see their worth, waiting for a happy ending to a story that's already over. But sometimes growth is when you stop waiting and give yourself permission to be free. You forgive not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. I want you to imagine this. You're standing on a bridge, gripping a rope tightly. The tighter you hold, the more your hands hurt. The rope starts cutting into your skin. But you won't let go because you're afraid. Afraid to fall. Afraid to lose. Afraid of the emptiness. Then finally, you let go. And surprisingly, you don't fall. You just feel light. Letting go isn't always loss. Sometimes letting go is the moment you finally choose to live again. I once read a study from Harvard University that said relationships are the single most important factor for human happiness, but only when they are healthy. If a relationship makes you feel small, anxious, or hurt, then it's no longer a bond, it's a cage. And sadly, many people live their entire lives inside that cage because they're too afraid to open the door. I understand walking away isn't easy, especially when that person once meant the world to you. But sometimes, to find yourself again, you must accept losing what once mattered most. A woman once came up to me after a talk. She said, "I've spent over 20 years pleasing everyone else. Now I want to learn how to please myself." I held her hand and said, "You just said the bravest thing I've ever heard." Because the truth is, we weren't born to live up to other people's expectations. We were born to find the best version of ourselves. And that journey often begins the moment you walk away from those who can't stand to see you happy. If you're listening to me right now, I want you to pause for a moment. Look around your room and ask yourself, who in my life is draining my energy? Who makes me shrink a little every time I'm around them? Then gently tell yourself, I don't hate them, but I choose to love myself more. I know. At our age, saying goodbye isn't easy. The memories, the promises, the years, they wrap around our hearts like invisible ropes. But you must remember, these memories don't keep you alive. They keep you stuck. And sometimes to move forward, you have to walk away, not with anger, but with gratitude. Gratitude that they came, that they gave you joy, that they taught you a lesson. And then you smile and take the next step. There's a quote I love deeply. The people who are meant to stay in your life will never need you to beg them. The ones who are meant to leave will go no matter how hard you try to hold on. So let life flow like water. Those who stay will fill your heart. Those who leave will only take what you no longer need. When you learn to let go, you don't just free the other person, you free yourself. And then something beautiful happens. You begin to meet new souls, gentle, kind, positive. People who don't drain your energy, but walk beside you as you build a better life. Before we end today's video, I want you to remember, no one can keep hurting you forever unless you allow it. You have the right to stop. You have the right to say enough. You have the right to choose peace for the rest of your life. If today you're going through something hard, if you're learning to let go of someone, I want to tell you, you are not alone. I've been there. Many others have been there. And I promise you, when the pain passes, you will see your own sunrise again. I'm someone who's lost many people in my life, and every time I found myself a little clearer. So don't fear losing people. Fear losing yourself by holding on to what no longer belongs to you. If these words resonate with you, leave a comment below. Share your story. Tell me who you've learned to let go of and how it changed your life. And don't forget to subscribe, because every week I share stories and lessons from real life to help you find peace, happiness, and strength within yourself. Thank you for listening. And as I always say at the end of every video, be kind to yourself, because you are the only one who will walk with you until the end.